You touched on method, and I think someone asked a question about method this morning. What is your
Yes.
method? And do you have, I'm assuming you probably practice different methods for different
Yeah.
characters, but do you have a
I
method
do
that-
now. I mean, I studied a lot of different things. Somebody asked me today if I'd studied with Tad Danielewski. Is he here? Maybe he had to leave, but I had studied with him too briefly. But my main teacher was Milton Gonzalez, but when I started in New York, I studied at Lee Strasberg Institute, and I had Harvey Keitel was in class with me at the same time, and there were a couple of teachers there who I learned all the sensory exercises, and that's all about discovering your instrument, you know, and learning how to relax. And you know, that great, it's a silly example, but if you think of eating a lemon, your mouth sort of does this thing, you know, or a nice bottle of wine, maybe, you know, you start to like sort of have a physical reaction. And so that's really, I mean, that's the oversimplification of it, but we would do these exercises of taking a shower, taking a hot shower, taking a cold shower, eating a lemon, drinking tea, drinking coffee, touching a swab of cotton, all these different sense memories and colors, and then emotional recall, remembering. I was saying today, I have never gotten over Mary Lou Plowden not inviting me to her 4th grade birthday party. It's as rich for me now as anything in this world. I think I was the only girl in the class that she didn't invite. And I still can go to that pain, and you would think that I'm grieving for the death of my lover, the pain I can get to with Mary Lou Plowden. She did me the biggest favor by not inviting me. Who knew? And the day my grandfather died, and whatever. And then happy times too, the day that, you know, for Christmas, I got a special Christmas present or whatever it is. I can go to the joyous points. And it just loosens up, kind of shakes up your instrument and gets you in touch with the fact that you've got this marvelous instrument to use, and that it's yours to own and to hold and to have, and that you can control it. And I'm not an actor who has to take it home. I used to be, because I liked it. I liked to wallow in the emotion. It was fun for me, but then my teacher taught me, well, you can't live your life that way. You've got a family. You got to go home and have dinner, you know, and you don't want to be neurotic. You don't want to have a nervous breakdown. And I thought, but how do you let it go? How do you let it go? And he said, he would give me examples of great actors who would let it go, and I would think, yeah, well, easy for them. But then something clicked one night after the theater, something happened, and I just went, oh, I'm choosing to do this. Because I'm enjoying uncovering what this is about and discovering those feelings. It's sort of like my own therapy. But the truth is I can drop it. And I could go out and greet the audience, and if they give me a compliment, say thank you with a smile and give them a hug and make, you know, not be like, ooh. And so ever since then I just haven't had that problem. But learning, so method, I would say Stanislavski method, and which is not what people think either. People think that it has to do with it has to be absolutely real and your props have to be real. It's just the opposite of that, really. It's using your sense memory, using your imagination, using your tactile, your senses, your smell, your sight, your hearing, your touching. So I did all that. And then Tad Danielewski had exercises that he taught me. And then my teacher, Milton, who really changed my life, in addition to teaching me that I was a character actress and forcing me to accept it by saying, why do you keep trying to be a Rolex watch when you're the salt of the earth? Yeah. And I thought, oh, salt of the earth sounds good. And then I had, you know, I painfully had ego deflation of doing those earthier roles and starting to want to be Thelma. You know, Thelma Rainwright was the character I did on a show called Delta, but I'm thinking of Thelma Ritter right now. But, you know, I started aspiring to do those character roles, so all that changed. But he had studied with Kazan and Strasberg, and he was friends with Stella Adler, and he had directed on Broadway, and he had directed Liv Ullmann to an Oscar, Betty Davis to an Emmy, Maureen Stapleton to a Tony, and he just was just a brilliant guy, and he had created a technique that is basically just a very simple approach that kind of takes from all of these different techniques and simplifies it. It's like lowest common denominator. And I was mentioning this morning, so I guess I got time to talk a little bit briefly about each thing. So you could say, you read the scene. First of all, he would say, read it again and again and again and again. You can't read something too much because you're going to get something. And let your imagination. I used to hate learning lines. And it's still a little bit tedious, but what I discovered about learning lines is, as you're learning the lines, you use your imagination. And it stimulates your imagination. It reminds you of personal things in your life. And it makes you see the scene. And you can play the scene in your imagination. Angry, sad, happy, sexy, whatever, threatening, in your mind as you learn the lines. So it's tedious work because you have to concentrate. But it's also thrilling, and it's much more than just rote memory. So that's one thing, is to read it a lot. And then he says, what is the prior event? What happened before the scene? Because you're going to enter the room a certain way based on what just happened. Like we were backstage talking, having a really pleasant conversation and talking about the wonderful town of Goshen and the film festival, and I've just been feeling all mushy inside and everything. So I didn't feel any nervousness as we walked up here. And then when I saw you, I was so glad to see my filmmaker friends here on the front row. And then waving to this one. I felt completely comfortable. So I entered with being very relaxed and feeling part of and feeling at home with you guys. Now on another day, with a different moderator, who maybe made me nervous, who was trying to control the conversation and get it to go a certain way or something, I could feel sort of tight. And I might walk in and be sort of like, you know, and it would be a different interview, or I might feel threatened by you guys, like I'm shy, like if something bad happened. Or any different thing. We can have subtext, you know, going on that, I don't want to say too much, I'm gonna blush. But we can have subtext that, like, I'm very attracted to your husband. Thank God. And that maybe I saw his painting earlier, and I started thinking about that painting. And I can't quite look at him because, oh my God, his wife's right here. And so the whole thing could all be about this prior event. And then you just say, well, what is the event? What's actually happening? So you know, on the surface, I'm doing a Q&A, I'm doing an actor seminar, we're going to talk. That's definitely what's happening. But what's really happening underneath, and what's really happening is, I want you to like me. Please like me. I'll be fun.